guys, it's me with a new I Am Fun Size with a friend. Look, it's Crispin Freeman.
Hi.
He's known for so many awesome voices, but we met thanks to beloved Winston.
Yes.
And his peanut butter.
And banana every once in a while, but mostly the peanut butter.
Mostly the peanut butter,
Mostly
which
the
I can
peanut
get
butter.
behind because I'm a big fan of the peanut butter and almond butter.
Yeah.
So first, I'm going to ask Winston. Oh my goodness! I'm
Whatever
gonna
you say.
ask Winston whether he wants me to go get some peanut butter.
Okay.
All about the peanut butter. I'm
Did
going to
someone
ask
say
Crispin.
peanut butter?
Duh, it's so cute, isn't it? I should let you know that I have a picture of baby Winston on my
right.
on my desktop,
Right.
on my actual computer desktop,
Yeah.
because it just makes me happy.
If only I had done Baby Winston's voice.
No, I know, but
a
it's just
little
like
too
you
small
are
for me.
attached. It's a little bit
Yeah.
too tiny, but it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it's attached to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
Anyway.
First, I'm going to ask Crispin our standard question that I ask lots of guests, and then I'm going to ask him a variation because he is a specialist, as it were. I know, look at that. So, first, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Well, I think the standard piece of advice, because it was the piece of advice that really helped me when I had my own crisis, my own sort of life artistic crisis. When I was younger, my family was very supportive of me pursuing the arts. They wanted me to pursue whatever I decided to pursue. They wanted me to pursue it with gusto and with commitment. And when I said, and both my parents are lawyers, when I showed interest in acting and whatnot, they didn't say, "What are you, crazy?" They said, "Be the best you can," which was great. But I had a sort of artistic and life crisis when I was in graduate school for acting. And my life wasn't working, my artistry sucked, I couldn't find a relationship, it was not good. And what really helped me at that time was I found Joseph Campbell's work on comparative mythology. And the storytellings and the archetypal hero journeys really spoke to me. And if there is any one pithy statement that Campbell is very famous for, it's for his phrase, "Follow your bliss." Right. And I realized that what I had been doing through my life is that I thought I had been. I thought I had chosen this path, but I realized that somewhere in my psyche, I would say subconscious, but it wasn't so subconscious, it was pretty controlling at the time, was I still had this notion of pleasing others, that I had to sort of either live up to some objective benchmark of success or other people's expectations of my notion of success, rather than saying, wait a minute, how about I'm doing this because I want to, right? And during this crisis, there was this moment where I thought, did I pick the wrong path? Did I go in the wrong direction? What have I done here? And I stopped and I thought, and I said, well, what would I have done differently? Would I have majored in something different? Would I have done something? And I realized, no, I probably would have made the same decisions, but I would have just made them faster, right? I made all the same decisions, just faster, and without the resistance or the extra weight or baggage of other people's expectations or of some nebulous notion of objective success or some like benchmark or some ruler that I had to satisfy.
Right.
Right. And part of that means that you may have to deviate from the recipe and make your own dish, right? That you have to find your own sort of alchemy and madness that brings your thing to the fore. So with this notion of follow your bliss, it's not just, oh, I like this, and so I just want to do it all the time. Because sometimes when people hear follow your bliss, they're like, well, I like to play video games and eat pizza, so that's my bliss. No, actually, Campbell said later, follow your blisters. Like, follow.
Where you're willing to throw yourself into
Yeah.
the craft and the work and the difficult parts of it just as much because it fuels your passion?
It's an obsession, that it won't let you go.
Yeah.
That it's not just, oh, this is fun and makes me feel good in the moment.
Right.
Rather, this is the thing that what the Greek philosophers would call eudaimonia, a sense of satisfaction, a sense of, it's hard to translate into English because often it's translated as happiness, but happiness can be, I really like ice cream.
Right.
It's not...
Happiness can be confused for joy. a lot of times, or ease or comfort.
And that's why this notion of sort of satisfaction, that with bliss comes a notion of, it would be so great if it were, right? And that really, and doing that for my own reasons was really good.
And then I imagine what you're striving for is no longer mired down by striving for the approval of others as much, because by nature already the path that you've chosen, the path that I've chosen, involves getting approval from others in a certain way. Not approval like, oh, you're a good person, but that it involves an audience. The audience needs to be there to take it in, one way or the other.
And so that's part of being a child, is you're trying to get approval from the authority figures in your life. So you spend however many years, depending on the environment you've grown up in, but it could be up to 18 or even more years, trying to get approval from teachers and parents and
rather
authority
than
figures.
Figuring out what it is that you approve of about yourself, what it is that is the thing that gives you your self-esteem, your get up and go first thing in the morning.
If I might indulge in a little story, because I always love to tell things in stories, because it's one thing to give advice in a sort of linear format. It's another thing to tell a parable, because a metaphor always has more information packed in it.
Hence mythology.
Than a simple recipe. And the story that really spoke to me, well, I met this actor in New York City when I was studying. I was in grad school in New York. And his name was Rindy Eckert, and he did this amazing show called The Idiot Variations. And what he did is he took like 6 different instruments, and he learned how to play them to a level that made you cry. Like, he literally could pick up the accordion, start playing a song, and you would weep. It was so beautiful. Now, what he had done is he'd only learned to play one song on each of these instruments. He had not mastered the instrument for everything, but he had just practiced this one song on each of these 6 instruments to the point where he seemed like a master. And he told me these 3 stories that I still carry with me all the time. And one of my favorites of the ones he told me was the guy and his garden that he was trying to make. So there was a man who had a backyard, and the garden in his backyard was not so well kept. It was bushes, it was shrubs, but it didn't have a lot of focus. Whereas his next door neighbor had this gorgeous oak tree. It was just, a patriarch of oaks. And one day he was sitting looking over the fence line at his neighbor tending his oak tree and said, "Wow, that's a beautiful oak tree." And his neighbor said, "Oh, thank you. That's very kind." He goes, "I wish I had an oak tree like that." And his neighbor said, "Well, you can." He's like, "I can? Sure, I'll tell you how." "Really?" Yeah. "Here, get these seeds and do this and do this and do this, and then you'll have an oak tree just like mine." And he goes, "Great!" And he runs off and he gets all the stuff and he plants it and he starts growing the oak tree. It's going, but things are not quite, and he goes to his neighbor and goes, "It's not quite." He goes, oh, well, now you need to do this, this, and this. "Oh, got it. Okay, so he does that, and it's still not quite. And he goes back to his neighbor and goes, "Oh, well, now you need to do this, this, and this." So the neighbor's being completely generous, but this oak tree is still not flourishing the way he wants to. And he stops and he looks at the oak tree and he goes, "You know what? I think I'm just a bushes and shrubs kind of guy." And the moment he says that, his entire garden bursts into such bloom that it's all he can do to take care of all the berries and the flowers and everything that's now growing in his garden. It's just, he's overwhelmed with the cornucopia of stuff coming out of his garden. Right? Rindy told me this story, and I looked at him and I said, "Rindy, that's amazing. You're really a bushes and shrubs kind of guy, aren't you? With all your different instruments and everything else." And Rindy looked at me and goes, yeah, I guess I am. But to you, Crispin, it looks like an oak tree." And I went,
"What?
Isn't that the challenge?
That is the challenge.
Is that you look at somebody else and you think, look at that oak tree they have. But from their perspective, it's just bushes and shrubs.
Right.
They're just trying their best to get along. And when you have that realization that, oh, there isn't some objective thing. There isn't somebody else's expectations that I have to live up to. I have to figure out the mixture of my own thing to make it work. And there's no one else's alchemy that's going to work to turn the lead to gold except my own. Other people can give me help, they can give me advice, I can pick up pointers, but in the end,
ultimately it's about you.
It's my alchemy, it's no one else's.
I love this. This was such a good answer. I'm saving the second question for another episode. That's what's about to happen. That's what's about to happen here, so stay tuned. If you guys are enjoying the series, please do me a favor, send me more questions at anjali@iamfunsize.com. Charlie will be here and we'll ask more questions. And feel free to obviously follow me on all over the interwebs at Sweet Anj and here on the YouTube and the YouTube that all the kids use these days. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Ooh, look at this fancy new end card with fancy places to find me. Well, I mean, the places to find me aren't so fancy, but find me, send me messages, send me questions, send me your art, send me photos. Ooh, send me photos of doggies. Love the doggies. And, if you like this, subscribe.